A conveyor then feeds the flakes into a screw press. It has a large revolving screw-shaped shaft enclosed within a slotted cage. As the shaft turns, its threads squeeze the flakes with high pressure, forcing out the oil, which then drains out through the slots. 42% of canola seed is oil. This screw press extracts nearly 3/4 of that. The remainder is still trapped in the pressed flakes, now referred to as canola cake. The cake exits the other end of the press and moves on to a second extraction. This one, a 70-minute wash with a solvent. This chemical extraction process removes all but a trace of oil. The factory then grinds the cake into protein-rich meal that it sells as animal feed. The extracted oil, stored in large tanks, now enters the refining phase. First, they wash the oil for 20 minutes with sodium hydroxide. During this wash cycle, they spin the oil at high speed so that the centrifugal force separates the natural impurities, which the factory later sells to soap manufacturers. After this cleaning process, the canola oil is visibly clearer. However, it still contains natural waxes, which makes it look cloudy. So the next step is to cool the oil to 41 degrees Fahrenheit. This thickens those waxes so that they can be filtered out. The waxes don't go to waste either. The factory uses them to produce vegetable shortening. In the factory's lab, technicians recreate production on a small scale to ensure performance and quality. Meanwhile, back in the factory, after washing and filtering the oil, they bleach it to lighten the color, then use a steam injection heating process to remove the canola odor. The oil is now fully refined and ready for bottling.
So, does anyone still want to use canola oil after this? See all the process that it goes through, and most important thing, they don't tell you that it's rapeseed. They call it canola oil. There's not such a thing as canola oil. It comes from the name Canada and oil, canola. So, and they don't tell you that it's genetically modified, which it is. So it's really, really unnatural process of extracting oils. Okay. All the other bad stuff in these oils, they add BHA and BHT, which are artificial antioxidants to preserve the food. This is something that I use to compound my pain creams to preserve the shelf life, which is also in our oils. These things have been linked to immune system changes, infertility, behavioral problems, and liver and kidney damage. In a nutshell, these oils are extremely unhealthy. They have been linked to reproductive problems, low birth rate, hormonal issues, obesity, mental decline, liver problems. And the biggest problem of our day, which is the #1 killer in America, is heart disease, and the second one, lung cancer. Third one is medical errors, by the way. So, what oil is safe to use? What's that? Well, we're not taking questions yet, sorry, after. So what oil is safe to use? Here we have a picture of olive oil, which actually, if you answer the question, you'll be able to win today. Same bottle with a nice book of the Food Babe. You can take the cover off if you don't want the lady on there. That's why I buy these hardcovers. It's a really nice gift, but you gotta earn it. So what is safe to use? One product that I like is an avocado oil. It's high in monounsaturated fat, which is a good type of fat. Avocado oil has a very high smoke point as well, which means the smoke point is when you start using the oil for cooking, sauteing, or frying, it's the point where it smokes, the degrees, when it starts to burn. So using it for sauteing, roasting, spearing, vinaigrettes, all of that is good. There's no need to refrigerate it when it's opened, although it should be stored in a cool and dark cupboard, because light and air exposes the oils to spoil. And then their health benefits can go away. Oops. There are other oils like hemp seed oil, flax oil, walnut oil. Those are not suitable for cooking, but they should only be used to make raw dips, sauces. Another oil I didn't put in there is olive oil. Olive oil is really, really good also to use. It doesn't have such a high smoking point, but it's still good to use like just to cook with sautéing, but just not deep frying. What they teach us is saturated fats are bad and all unsaturated oils are healthy. This is something we really need to get out of our heads. Some of these unsaturated plant oils offer large quantities of omega-6. Although omega-6 is necessary for a lot of different processes like blood clotting, the average American consumes too much of them, which is bad news from an inflammation high point. The worst offenders of omega-6 are corn oil, cottonseed oils. And cottonseed oil is in a lot of products, even though you don't buy it. I bet you if I come to your house and look at in your pantry, you will have a lot of products with cottonseed oil. It's very, very cheap, it's very dirty, and they use it a lot because of that in foods. Coconut oil. How many people use avocado oil? How often? Every day. That's the right idea. I use it every day too. How much does it cost? If you're concerned about costs, you can buy at Costco. You could buy one that's $8.69 for about a liter, and at BJ's, I like to buy that one because it says non-GMO verified. Even though they really can't GMO avocado oil, they can't do it. So the other one is good as well. It's $10.99, but you don't use a lot of oil to cook anyway. Coconut oil. How many people use coconut oil? Oh, coconut oil is good stuff. Yes. Okay. It has been unfairly made the villain for decades, coconut oil, by government guidelines and federal health organizations. But there are significant amounts of clinical research which shows that this main fatty acid, lauric acid, helps maintain healthful cholesterol levels. It increases your HDL, which is the good cholesterol. Since coconut oil has a very high smoke point, its fatty acids can withstand high degrees of heat without oxidizing. Once fat oxidizes, its healthful benefits are gone. Although we hear a lot about the importance of buying some produce organic, the same is true for all oils. Many pesticides are fat soluble, which means they accumulate in a plant's fatty acids and oils. Light and air can quickly deteriorate oils' healthful properties, particularly olive oil, which contains a high level of antioxidants. Leaving an unopened bottle of olive oil on a counter for just a few minutes can have a detrimental effect on its antioxidant content. It's very high in vitamin E. To minimize UV light damage, purchase olive oil in tin cans whenever possible. These are oils we should avoid completely. So brothers, even though you don't buy the oils, do you see what your wife cooks with at some point or another? Have you seen these oils when you go in your pantries? No? No one looks? You brothers have to start looking. So when you go home today, start looking for the hydrogenated items in your food and your children's food and throw it out. Canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, vegetable oil, peanut, all of these, no good. Rule of thumb, use oils extracted from foods which are naturally high in fat, such as coconut, olive, avocado. They're far better choices than the vegetables, corn or cotton seeds. This is a chart, and it just shows the smoke points of oils. You can Google all this information. It's something that you should really look into. It tells you the ratio between omega-6 to omega-3, or rather I think this one is omega-6 to omega-3, yes. Okay, quiz time. Questions for the sisters. You win this and this book. Make you lose a lot of weight too. Name an oil. I'm sorry, I was rushing, so this presentation is little. Name an oil that is good for cooking and healthy for cooking, and give 2 supporting reasons why it is good. I was going to say 2 oils, but 1 is okay. Okay, sister, go ahead. Avocado oil? Why? So why is that important that it contains a high smoke point? And then it becomes unhealthy. That's very good. Very good. You gave a lot of good reasons. And one is it's a very good saturated fat. So it's a healthy fat that our body can utilize very well. And you can get the benefits out of it when eating your food. Okay, that's yours. Yusuf, come here. Go give this to the sister. Very good. Now the question for the brothers. And I need a very thorough answer on this. Go give it to that sister over there. Oh, no, come here. Sorry. This way, you want to give it to the sister? Okay, Jazakallah khair. Hold that. Can you hold that? It's a little heavy. You got it. Give it to that sister over there. Jazakallah khair. What a good girl. Okay, this question is for the brothers. Describe the hydrogenation process. It's not that difficult. Of cooking oil, and why hydrogenated fats are bad for us. Two reasons why they're bad for us. Anyone? Your wife wants this book and this oil, okay? So, no, Brother Basim. Why? Okay, Brother Senhaji, I'm going to have to put you on the spot. Yes, you were, and you were listening. Come on, brothers. Brother Mustafa, you can do it. Here's the microphone. Come on. No, take the microphone. Here. Okay, then say it without the microphone. Go ahead. How do they process it? They heat it? Up to, yeah? And what does it turn into? Exactly. Come semi-solid or salad? Like plastic? How many molecules is it away from plastic? Wow, so 1 molecule, you guys are eating plastic. And your kids are eating plastic. So why is this all bad for us? What's going to happen to our bodies if we eat that? It makes the blood thicker, okay. And then what's going to happen to your heart? High blood pressure has to work very hard now to pump the blood through those arteries. It makes a layer inside there. Very good, mashallah. That's really a good explanation. That's great. Your wife is going to be very happy. Okay, so alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair for coming, and inshallah till next month. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope this is benefiting everybody, inshallah, and little by little we'll learn, what we need to avoid, because there's just a lot of stuff these days.
Jazakumullah khair, Sister Mumina. This was very enlightening and inshallah beneficial to us and our children. We are taking heed from your comments every every month. And we try to adjust our serving here at ICBR. We try our best to conform to your lecture. It's very hard if we deal with contractors, but as you can see, we don't serve much of sodas in this center. We try to. The last 2 Fridays we didn't. This Friday, I think we did. Soda on Friday. No, we stopped, huh? See, we stopped providing sodas. So we're trying our best to conform, and inshallah, slowly but surely we'll get better. Okay, well, we were ahead of the curve then. And our next speaker, someone that has moved to our community recently, we are very blessed to have him join us. He's born in England, grew up in Illinois, traveled extensively in the US and in the Caribbean. He's an author. He published a book on poetry. He's a practicing doctor with the hospital medicine. And he is our guest today. Dr. Zakiya Moyanda is our guest, and please join us today for this lecture. The subject is Islam, or Principles of Islam and the Human Psychology or Physiology. Please.
Anything? No.
If you don't, then we can just move this.
No, it's okay. I just move. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has given us this great blessing to be here. As was mentioned, last month was canceled due to the hurricane, and as we know, this is under the command and control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is the one who is able to do all things, and in His hands is all the power. We praise Him and we seek His forgiveness, and we beg Him to forgive us from our shortcomings, and we ask Him to send His endless salutations on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jazakallah khayrun to the sister who gave a very beautiful talk. I can't express to you how joyful it was to hear such a talk, because we as Muslims should be at the pinnacle of good everything, particularly when it comes to health and eating. And actually, and this is meant as a good criticism, the topic she gave should be on the weekend during the day, like a weekend seminar. That's how important it is. And it actually gave me some ideas to add to the text that I'm actually writing. I just would like to talk a little bit about myself, just to introduce myself to the community. My wife and I, we have 2 kids, ages 6 and 3. The oldest is in kindergarten here, and we're very happy to be a part of this community. We've been here for about a month, and the brothers have been very welcoming, and the sisters has also been very welcoming to us, and we're very honored to be a part of this community, and we look forward to participating and joining you in activities so that we can add to the prosperity of this community. That being said, I'd like to remind you to donate to the masjid. We as Muslims, we should not be reminded, we should also give. And if you are giving, alhamdulillah, give more, inshallah, if you can. If you're not, ask Allah to help you. And it is not the amount that you give, it's the willingness to give. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it, inshallah, bi-idhnillah ta'ala. I'm actually in the process of writing a book. It's called The Principles of Islam and Human Physiology, Comparative Concepts for Reflection. And the background of this goes back to 1998 when I was taking a graduate level biochemistry course. And just by a show of hands, has anyone ever taken chemistry or a physiology course? Raise your hand, please. Okay, very good. So at this time, I had actually reverted to Islam in 97. I was 27 years old, 27 or 28. So my curiosity and love and iman and everything was just way up. I was just so excited to be a Muslim. And at the same time, I'm studying science now from a different perspective. I had been taking chemistry classes before, just like most people take chemistry science classes. You just take it, you're just hoping to get through and close your eyes and take tests, and that's it, with no reflection. At this time, I was actually taking a biochemistry class, which biochemistry by itself is pretty difficult, but I was actually taking a graduate level biochemistry class, which was very difficult and challenging. But the difference was now that I was Muslim. And so for whatever reason, alhamdulillah, Allah had me listening with different ears and reflecting with a different heart. And wallahi, it had been literally 3 to 4 weeks of me sitting in that class, and I didn't take one note. The fear and reverence that I had, even though the teacher was not Muslim, and I don't believe there was any other Muslims in the class, I felt like I was in ibadah from what I was listening to and how things are taking place. And so then a few years passed, I found myself in medical school taking physiology, pathology, etc. And now looking at the body from an anatomical level, a biochemical level, system level, etc. I consider it a gift that Allah helped me to look and study, because there's so many similarities. If you look into anything around the world from an Islamic perspective, you will see the beauty and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But being that I was in medicine, I was just really in awe and continue to be in awe the more I learn and the more I reflect, and how beautiful Allah has engineered and constructed and created us. And this is reflected in all throughout the Quran. And the verse in Surah At-Tin, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقَنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. And indeed we have created the human beings in the greatest stature. You know, these are things for us to reflect upon. And so I wanted to write something, as arduous and difficult as it may be. I've just been inspired to see that if I can just extract a few concepts from Islam and see how they relate into how the body is reacting to one another, how it's this biochemical factory, if you will, of millions and millions of reactions taking place at speeds of you wouldn't believe, but at the same time they're happening with precision and eloquence that we have no idea. We have nothing else to say but La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And not to study from a point of view of just being in awe only, but to let that inspire us to be more obedient to Allah as we reflect. And that's the ultimate goal. Not just as a mere exercise, but to let it inspire us to be better Muslims, which is why we're here, to establish ibadah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the other challenge is to do it in such a way that it won't bore us to death, because not everyone is scientific. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help me with that, and inshallah we'll get through it. I'm just introducing this topic today, and I want to end with an example in a few minutes, just to give you all an idea of how I'm attempting to put this together. So let's look, as we go into this, a verse from the Quran in Surah Ar-Rum, where Allah says, وَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ وَأَجَلٍ مُّسَمًّى وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا مِّنَ النَّاسِ بِلِقَاءِ رَبِّهِمْ لَكَافِرُونَ. Allah is saying, do they not contemplate within themselves, think deeply Allah is saying, does not the human being think deeply within themselves, about our creation? Allah has not created the heavens and the earth and everything that is in between them except in truth and for a specified term. And indeed, many of the people, when it regards to the meaning of Allah, are disbelievers. So this is to encourage us, brothers and sisters, to just take a look at ourselves. Without having, you don't have to go necessarily to medical school or to take a physiology course. You just look at our different shades of colors. Our sister mentioned the heart beating. She mentioned something also about oxidation of some of the oils, are good oxidizing, which gave me an idea, something else that we should reflect upon. When we say that an oil is saturated, okay, that means that the way it's chemically structured is such a way that it's easily, the chemical reactions, if you will, are easily digestible, if you will. How do these molecules get constructed that way? None other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, like gasoline is made from oil, but we cannot consume that. It will rip our intestines away based on the structure that Allah has made for us, for instance. She also mentioned about antioxidants, if you will. A lot of times when we eat, or when we're not eating, we have things what we call free radicals. We hear radicals in the news and everything, right? Not those type. The chemical density of certain atoms, and again, I'm going to try to make this simple. Just follow along with me for simplicity. There's balance in everything. Allah has created the balance in everything. But if things come out of balance at the anatomical and chemical levels, they become radicalized, meaning that they're not fitting with the regular, the community. They are of high energy, and they disrupt things that are around them. And in fact, cancer has been linked to the overproduction of free radicals. Heart disease, in fact, is another byproduct of free radicals. That's why it's always good to consume things that are high oxidants, because those oxidants will neutralize the free radicals and therefore restore health. Okay. Let's look at an example that I want to end with. And so let me just say one thing before I lead to that example. So the context of what I would like to do, hold on. Some of the concepts, for instance, just to give you an example, in Islam that we see, that we can correlate within human physiology, for example. Number one, unity, selflessness, and mutual cooperation. We would all agree that Islam promotes this. What I want to do is bring examples from within our bodies, from a physiological point of view, where unity and mutual cooperation is being manifested within ourselves. Again, not for a mere exercise, but so that we can see that what Allah is asking from us on a macro level, on a big picture level, for us as individuals, is happening within our bodies by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to the extent that it is being done according to His will, because we have no control over what's happening in our body. Yes? We should all come to the understanding that even our heartbeat, the electrical impulses that makes our heartbeat in rhythm, we have no control over it. That alone should humble us, or humble the human being who does not recognize Allah as his or her Rabb. You see, cardiologists don't even know how this happens. There's no human being with all the knowledge, they don't even know how, in fact, the heart beats. You understand? And so it's doing so with an eloquence by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, another concept is purification. We would all agree again that purification is a fundamental part of our deen. Tazkiyah, for example. The things that we do outwardly, wudu, dua, reading Quran, spreading the salams, giving zakat, all these things help to purify our iman. And inshallah, by the permission of Allah, we get closer to Allah. But we also have things that are happening within our bodies from a physiological point of view that are purifying us, that are keeping us looking the same way without any notice of change. Of course, as we get older, we see that we have white hair, etc. But from minute to minute, you don't see any discernible change in our looks, in our appearance. We should reflect on that because there are reactions that are taking place that if they were to go out of whack just a slight bit, we would just perhaps explode. Another concept, programmed death. Allah makes it very clear that every soul shall do what? Die. And it is by His command, and no one knows that time. It is fixed. But in physiology or pathophysiology, there's a term called apoptosis, which is a kind of programmed cell death. And it is natural that when a cell, and we are made up of billions of cells, they don't last forever. And when it's time for them to go, there's a cascade, a series of reactions that take place, and that cell dies off. And why is this important to reflect on? Many reasons. Because as we know, a lot of non-Muslims, when they hear the word death, they get spooked out. As if that's not a natural. If you ask them intellectually, they'll know everyone dies, yes. Intellectually, they'll accept the fact that, but to talk about it and to understand it the way we do as Muslims, you won't find that they do that. Because Islam teaches us death, and we're not fearful of it from that point of view. And in fact, a hallmark of cancer, if you will, is that the programmed cell death, they're immune from it. So these cells that were destined to die or should die in the cancerous state, they're not dying. So that programmed cell death is good for us by the permission of Allah. Another concept, heart disease. And you know, Allah in the Quran talks so much about the heart that is kind of like a no-brainer. Peace restoration. What happens when things go wrong? When we get sick, what happens? And this sort of links in with the unity and cooperation. If you were to cut yourself on your finger or anywhere, there would be a cascade of things happening, starting in the liver. There would be blood clotting factors that would be disseminated to go to that site where there's a cut, to clot up, to stop the bleeding. How does it do that? Why does it do that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is one of many, many, many things that are happening within our bodies to protect us. And this is one of my favorites, and this is the one that had me the most reflecting. And I labeled it the deliverance of the message. The deliverance of the message. Those of you who have had chemistry class, you recall proteins called enzymes, correct? You remember that? Enzymes are particular sets of proteins that have different functions. Without getting into the details of it, they are very specific in what they do. And mind you, I'm talking about these things. Understand that the minute level in which these things are happening is amazing. And so just for example, DNA, we all know DNA is the genetic composition, whatever. And it's wrapped up and coiled up real tight. And the genetic information is buried deep down within, and there's molecules, if you will, other proteins that are surrounding the DNA molecule. And it's very, very long, very, very long. And then it's long and it's coiled up. So if you can imagine a ladder, if you will, two long sticks with the steps, long, 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 and then it's twisted like a spider coil, and then on top of that it's wrapped up into a ball. And those stairs have particular sequences, if you will. There are enzymes, proteins, that go to specific places and unravel and go exactly where they're supposed to go. At the right temperature, at the right pH, and they do that ultimately to form another protein. I'm explaining something that's very complicated in a simple way. The point is, they are under the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the point. And no human being has the capacity to do it or to even think of a way that it could be done. And this is an example of many. And I hope to be able to go through some of these each month in a more detailed fashion. But I end with this one. Most of us have children. The process of fertilization, just to give you an example of how merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Imagine the human body is composed of, let's say, 60,000 traits, half of which emanate from the mother, the egg of the mother. Say 30,000. And of course, that egg needs to be fertilized by one sperm. Okay. Now imagine half of those 30,000 from the egg are going to be placed on 23 boxcars, chromosomes, if you will, of which the human body has 46. Y'all following me so far? Now, it's not that it's 1 through 30,000 and then they're looking for 31,000 through 60. It doesn't work that way. So that egg may have, say, 1, 2, 3, and then say 100, 200, and then say 50,000, 40,000, etc., which will make up 30,000. Any number of 30,000 between 1 and 60. You all following me? Yes? No? It's important. We have 60,000 total, half of which are coming from the egg. So when that egg is released, okay, ready to be fertilized, it's coming with 30,000, but not in any particular sequence of 1 to 30. It's anywhere from 1 to 60, there's 30, and the numbers can be whatever. But there's going to be 30 missing, of which that sperm will have to fulfill the complementary. Both of them will now have the sequence of 1 through 60,000. You follow me now? Okay. Now, here's the miraculous part of it. There's 250 million sperm, of which that egg needs to find that one out of the 250 million that has the necessary missing pieces, the 30,000 missing pieces. You follow me? That's amazing in and of itself. Because let me put it to you like this. Imagine someone were to give you a card, some cards, 30,000 cards numbered arbitrarily between 1 and 60,000. And you were given 250 million bags. Each one of them has 30,000 cards. You have to now pick out of the 250 million, which one has the complementary 30,000 that's going to fit the sequence 1 to 60,000. one level more of complexity. You have to do it within an hour. You have to do that within an hour. You should easily be able to see it can't happen. Okay, but yet and still, each and every time, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, a woman gets pregnant, that's what happens, and it happens within an hour. And that's just fertilization. And I'll end with that. Because once now the egg is fertilized, it has to go from that to form a baby. You understand? So we say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and we ask Allah to help us to be not only in awe of this, but to increase our shukr and to increase our sabr, and to be mindful of our different various colors and shapes, and in fact just be better Muslims, to learn this deen, to have the knowledge, the useful knowledge that will benefit us for the pleasure of Allah and our youngsters. So I thank you for this time. Inshallah, next month we'll take one topic, like for unity, for example, and we'll spend our time going through examples, specific examples in the body that are showing unity, cooperation, and mutual respect, if you will. And inshallah, we will get closer and closer to Allah as we learn something, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.
Dr. Moyanda, would you take some questions from the audience? Does anyone has a question for Dr. Zaki? Would like to call you Dr. Zakiya or Dr. Zaki? Dr. Zaki will be fine. Any questions? We still have about 7 minutes to Isha, which is at 8:15, and then the dinner is served afterward, inshallah. So we have a few minutes to take question for Dr. Zaki or Sister Mumina. She's also here. You guys are a very quiet audience. Okay, then the doctor will ask questions.
I have a question. I really enjoyed your talk. Wallahi, it's very nice. May Allah reward you. You didn't mention anything about palm oil. Is that good? Okay. 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 Mm-hmm. Alhamdulillah. And this, it is, but it's so good. I wanted to make sure it was good. MashaAllah. Yeah. Jazakallah khair. Any other questions? Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll make my question really brief. I was watching a video, and it was one of the brothers. His name is Hamza Yusuf, and he has a book. The book is called Purification of the Heart. It's a very good book, and I would suggest you guys, if you can buy it or if you can borrow it from the library and so on. But my question, you said something about the heart. I think it's 40,000 gallons of blood that the heart travels to the body. Can you talk a little bit about the beating of the heart, the speed, or how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the heart do everything by itself. There's nothing telling the heart, what to do when you should send the blood to different parts of the body. Can you please elaborate on that?
So you're saying that he said something about 40,000 gallons? Okay. Well, as I mentioned, no one knows how the heart beats. The normal heart rate is between 60 and 100. Okay? And so to answer your question, I cannot answer that because no one knows how the heart beats. We can only describe what we see. Like in the normal human being, there's about 5 liters okay, of blood pumping through the heart approximately. What my level of understanding of how I would like to approach it in this work is just how the heart has to calculate and make adjustments. Like the sister was saying, if the blood becomes more thick, for instance, or in the example that I made, if there's a breach in the system, if you will, right, with a cut or inflammation or fever, sickness, the heart has to make these adjustments, and they have to do, it does so in a very specific, calculated way. It's not just, oh, let me pump a little harder. It's I'm gonna pump a little harder, and I'm gonna pump the precise amount of blood so that as to not disrupt the whole system. Because out of those 5 liters that the heart is pumping, 20% goes to the kidney down here. That itself is very amazing. The kidney performs so many functions, okay? So, and then of course, the brain is the greedy one. You find people that pass out a lot. If you can stay out in the sun for all day or without rehydrating yourself. It happens a lot, particularly with older people. They just pass out. And that's a reflex system, because with each pumping of the heart, blood is going up into the brain, all calculated. But when it reaches a threshold that the brain doesn't get enough, you just collapse and pass out, okay, as a protective measure. And so when there's any of those things that are mentioning, the kidney still has to get its 20%, or if it doesn't, for a period of time, you can have some problems here. But we don't see kidney failure unless these things happen, of course, for a long period of time. Then, of course, outside of the normal homeostasis, keeping things together, then you find yourself in a disease state. But to answer your question, I cannot answer it. You know, we just have to study as much as we can, and we know it's from Allah. Because this is on a level that, and I'm not sure we need the answer to it. If we know, and that's what I want to, that's why I was trying to lay down the foundation at the beginning. This is not an exercise. We have to basically just surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and use whatever knowledge we have to get closer to Him. You understand? Because that's the ultimate benefit of our knowledge. Not just to have knowledge just for knowledge's sake. You see my point? But I confess I don't know the answer, and I don't believe anyone knows the answer to that question other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah.
Well, you're lucky. We just have among us an expert in the heart, Dr. Waqas, and he may want to share some light in here. Dr. Waqas also joined, and his wife joined our community recently, and we are very happy to have them. Please.
So I'm a heart transplant cardiologist, so I have a lot of experience with the heart. And even if you don't tell the heart to beat, it will beat. But in answer to your question, how does the heart know to beat more? It's a delivery system. Its job is to deliver oxygen and food. So there are 2 things that tell it to deliver more. One is when your organs, your muscles, your kidneys, whatever don't have enough, the energy supplies get lower because they can't make energy. And that's the signal to the heart, pump more. The other is the brain itself. The brain, the nerves from the brain tell it that I need more or less to this area or this. So it's your brain, and it's when the energy goes down, when you don't have nutrition, the organs tell it, send more. And the heart is smart. It can change where it sends it. It doesn't always send it to the kidneys or the brain. It'll send it where it's needed. So it does that. But it'll do it even independently of that. But in answer to his point is that, you know, your machine is based on cooperation. It's all together. So if the brain doesn't work or the kidneys don't work, the whole thing fails. So the heart is just, and it's the earliest thing to form after the nutrition. So the first thing that forms when you're a baby is your ability to get energy or food. But right after that, as soon as you go from one cell to more, you have to deliver it. So the circulatory system is there. But it really, as he said, it's about unity and cooperation. So anything goes wrong with something else, it'll affect the heart. So I don't know if that helps, but it's when the energy levels get low or when the nerves, the autonomics, so your sympathetics, parasympathetics tell it.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Khas, for your introduction, for injecting in this. Our community is shifting. For many years, we were an IT community. We had software engineers and things like that, and they all moved to the Silicon Valley or they went to China or something, but they're no longer here. I see one brother from IBM, and he told me that he's no longer, he's the brother from IBM. But alhamdulillah, we see more doctors. Alhamdulillah, that's good. So welcome, Jazakumullah khair, for all our guests and our speakers today. We look forward to continue this series. On a monthly basis, but also we were very keen to diversify the topics. So other than the health-related topics, we make sure to address civil rights and others, engineering projects and other topics as well, in addition to the regular lectures that the Imam gives on Friday and Sunday, which are religious topics on fiqh and seerah and aqidah and so on. I think, yes, sister? Sure. Yes, we can. we can do that. Usually, we try to schedule them with food, but we don't have to have food every family night. We can just have food for thought, So we don't have to have food. Just take a little more effort to have the food. But yes, we can do that, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. I think the time for Isha is in, so we ask Brother Mir to give the adhan, please.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا